You ever have one of those days where you are working nonstop? Your laptop's open, you have about 1,000 tabs going on at the same time, and at the end, you think, why don't I feel like I actually have done anything? Yeah, me too. And that's what today's episode is all about. In today's episode, I'm going to break down the 3 productive tasks that are actually silently killing your results. Let's start with the first fake productivity task that we do all the time that derail us, that distract us, and that's tweaking your website, or AKA design procrastination, right? This is one of the most common traps ever. Tinkering with our website, tinkering with the banner on our Facebook page or on our Instagram, tinkering with the bio on our YouTube, tinkering, instead of talking to customers. I've seen this so many times in myself and other people as well, of course, but you'll often hear something like this. I just need to perfect my homepage before I start promoting, right? I don't want to send traffic to the page until it's totally optimized. Or another example is, I'm still figuring out my color palette before I launch. I really want to make sure that it looks really impressive. Stop right there, because the reason why this is so killer is because there's truth in those statements. The line does matter. The details do make a difference, but there's a time and a place for everything. In the beginning, you need to validate your idea. You need to make sure that you have something that people actually want. You need to make some sales. You need to get some customers. You need to have a reoccurring way for people to buy over and over, right? Those are the important facets of business that you need to prioritize over those little tinkering details. And often it's just like procrastination. It's a procrastination tool to work on something else other than the thing that we actually need to work on, which is getting customers, right? Let me give you an example from a really well-known online educator, Marie Folio, right? New York Times bestselling author. When she launched B School, her original sales page wasn't really fancy. It was actually pretty basic. It was basically a long block of copy, a headline, and a video. No flashy animations, no parallax scrolling or anything like that. Just a clear message and a strong offer. She pre-sold millions of dollars worth of courses before upgrading the design and making it a better website years later. Heck, let's go closer to home. WebinarNinja, my software company that I built for 10 years, recently got acquired by ProProfs. But before I actually built the actual software back in 2014, I created a simple landing page with mock-ups of what the software would look like. Before I designed it, before a line of code was written, I pitched the idea, not a finished product. I pitched the promise. And we sold over 250 beta spots. That gave us enough capital and validation to build the actual product. The bottom line is, your homepage is not your business. Your offer is. Sell the offer, tweak the site later. Listen, a lot of people look at the $100 MBA website, 100mba.net, if you're curious, and they say, this is amazing. This is beautiful. The branding's incredible. There's so much that is put into it. I'm like, you're right. We worked a lot on it, and it's expensive to build a website like that. But we didn't build this website from day one. This is something that we worked on over and over. And our latest iteration, our redesign recently, is after doing the 100 MBA for over 10 years, right? It was something that grew with us and improved with us. Fake productivity number 2, consuming instead of creating. Whew. Let's talk about this one for a second. Let's talk about what I call the learning trap. We love to learn as entrepreneurs. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you're listening to a podcast right now. You might enjoy reading books. You might enjoy reading articles on LinkedIn. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you published something, made an offer, or had a real conversation with a customer? Here's the truth. You don't need more information often. You need more implementation. One of the reasons why I created this podcast was to give back to other entrepreneurs, to help them along their journey, but also to ensure that I am producing and implementing more than I'm consuming. I know myself. I love to learn. I love to consume. I love to read. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't at least have a 50-50 split where you're consuming as much as you're implementing, then you're really not going to make progress. And as you start to grow in entrepreneurship, you're going to start, tilting the scales a little bit more to implementation, where it's like 40-60, and then 30-70 in favor of implementation. Let me give you a perfect example of this. Pat Flynn of Smart Passive Income, good friend of mine, good guy. He says that one of his biggest mistakes early on was spending too much time learning and not doing enough. He's not actually producing enough. So once he flipped the switch, he published his first ebook, he launched his first course, and the business took off. Same for me. I ran a failed podcast before this podcast, the $100 MBA show. Why did it fail? Well, I was focusing on all the right things I thought, but they're really the wrong things. I was really so over concerned about the perfect equipment and the perfect intro and the slick editing. And I forgot that really what's most important is the content. It's making sure that I deliver the best content possible in the best way I can. And that previous podcast was an interview podcast. I'm not so great at interviewing. I'm actually really great at teaching. That's what I did for over a decade before I became a full-time entrepreneur. I was a school teacher. I train teachers for a living. I have a master's in education. So this is my realm of influence. This is my zone of genius, as they say. I switched to teaching on the podcast, which is this podcast, and that made all the difference. The old podcast wasn't delivering consistent value or talking to the right audience, actually. When I finally focused on the message over the method and all these little small details, the show took off. Now, don't get me wrong. We got to over 300 million downloads in the $100 MBA show, not by just doing the same thing over and over. Once we established high value content on the podcast and we did it consistently, we started to improve our equipment, improve our performance, made sure all the details were kind of moving up as the show moved up, right? We made sure that we continued to improve all those finer things, but the core thing had to be established first. The core value is the most important. Once we have that, then we can then polish things up. So here's a rule if you're somebody that is maybe an over consumer of content. Anytime you have one lesson learned or one piece of content consumed, say to yourself, I have to do one action. I got to take one action. So for every one lesson learned, one action taken. So if you listen to this podcast episode today, then make sure you're taking action and implementing something in your business, at least one thing. Another example is if you read a book, implement one idea before picking up another book, right? Whatever you learned in that book, implement it. If you watch a video on YouTube and you learn something, use it and make sure it sparks you to take action. Learning without doing is just entertainment in disguise, really. Fake productivity number 3, planning instead of selling. Let me be crystal clear. I love planning. I'm a planner. When I go on a trip, a holiday, even a business trip, my favorite part of it is the planning of the actual trip. Nicole makes jokes about it, but it's true. Like when we go on a trip and we're actually there, I'm happy and everything, but I actually enjoyed the planning more. I'm a guy that loves systems and loves, the buildup of creating something. But there's a difference between planning for execution and planning as an excuse to delay. Perfectionism is just procrastination wearing a tie, okay? It's just a fancy way to say you're procrastinating. Here's a real story. I met a SaaS founder at a conference called MicroConf, and he was building a productivity app. He spent 10 months in just planning mode. We're talking about sitemaps, user flows, back-end diagrams. But when he finally launched, nobody bought his app. Why? He never validated demand. He never spoke to real users. He thought if he just planned it better, the success would follow. Now contrast that with Gumroad's founder, Sal Lavinia. He built the MVP, the minimal viable product of Gumroad in a single weekend. Now, if you don't know, Gumroad is an easy way for you to sell your digital product online. He created that MVP in a weekend and launched it to a few creators. From there, he iterated based on the feedback that he got from the creators, and Gumroad is now doing tens of millions of dollars annually. Planning is useful, but after you've started selling, because selling is validation that you're working on the right thing. So what should you be doing instead? Let me give you the filter I personally use that I teach inside our program, the $100 MBA. Ask yourself each day, is this task directly tied to revenue, results, or relationships? Revenue is something that will help me earn or drive sales. Results will help a customer achieve their outcome. And relationships is, am I building trust with my audience, with my team, with my partners? If not, if it does not do any of those three, you're probably decorating your to-do lists instead of building your business, right? You're playing busy, playing business, and not doing business. Let's get real. What are real tasks that drive growth? Instead of those fake wins that you tell yourself, spend time on sending a personal email to 10 potential customers. Create a short sales video or offer page. Posting a real customer story or case study on social media. Follow up with somebody who clicked but didn't buy, right? Reach out to them. Testing a simple ad to a landing page or asking for a referral from a happy customer. All these things actually help your business. So here's the truth. Most entrepreneurs fail not because they're lazy, but because they're busy doing things that don't matter. And the market doesn't care how organized your notion is, right? It cares if you solve a real problem. That's the game. When you stop confusing motion for progress, when you stop trying to look successful and start doing the hard, real work, you separate yourself from the 99% of people just spinning their wheels by being that 1%. So execute, ship, sell, even if it's messy, especially if it's messy, okay? It's okay. That's how real businesses are built. Thanks so much for joining us on the $100 MBA show. I want to say that if you're here to the end of the episode, that means you're a doer. You care about your progress, your business, your progression in life. I'm proud of you. You're one of my people. But if you want to take things further, if you want to learn and build upon what you're learning, then I recommend that you sign up for a 3 Things newsletter. It's absolutely free. All you got to do is go to 100mba.net and sign up for any of our free templates or any of our free resources, and you get added to our newsletter automatically. Why would you sign up for this newsletter? Well, each week, I'm going to give you 3 things. Something to think about to grow your mindset. Number 2, I'm going to give you something to do so you're actually progressing by taking action. And number 3, something to learn so you're leveling up your skills and becoming something better every single week. It's my way to coach you from afar. It's all designed to keep you growing as an entrepreneur. Again, just go to 100mba.net and sign up for any of our free guides, and you get added automatically for free. And I'll see you inside the newsletter. Until next time, keep moving forward. Keep doing things that make you a little bit uncomfortable, that stretch you a little bit, that put you outside your comfort zone. That's okay. That means you're making progress. I'll check you next time. Take care.